Okay, picture this. You're running a business, and your main strategy is to actively turn away millions of dollars. Sounds totally crazy, right? Well, today we're diving into this explainer to unpack the completely counterintuitive billion-dollar luxury strategy of Ferrari. We're going to look at what is essentially a masterclass in business psychology. It's all about building a brand so incredibly powerful that the normal rules of supply and demand, yeah, they just don't apply. So we start with this massive business paradox. Why on earth would you intentionally refuse customers who are literally waving hundreds of thousands of dollars in your face? Basic business logic tells us that if you've got overwhelming demand, you pump up the supply and cash in, right? I mean, Ferrari could easily double their production tomorrow. They could pocket billions in immediate revenue every single year. But they don't. They deliberately leave all that money on the table. Why would anyone do that? Well, the answer actually takes us all the way back to 1947 in Maranello, Italy. Founder Enzo Ferrari made a decision early on that totally defied standard manufacturing. He decided his company wouldn't try to be the biggest. Instead, they were going to be the most desirable. From day one, Enzo just understood this fundamental truth about human psychology. The end goal for him wasn't dominating the roads. It was absolute prestige. It was a completely different way to look at making cars, and it set this foundational DNA that the company still rigorously follows to this day. It deliberately flips the script on mass manufacturing. Think about it. Everyday automakers measure their success by how many units they can just pump out and sell across the globe. But Ferrari, they measure success by making sure their supply never quite satisfies the market's hunger. It is, quite literally, an architecture of engineered scarcity. And what happens when you artificially engineer that kind of scarcity? You create this unbreakable loop of exclusivity. We live in an era of next-day delivery and instant gratification, right? But Ferrari buyers are perfectly willing to wait months or even years for a car. You aren't just strolling onto a dealership lot and driving off. The waiting list itself is kind of a feature, not a bug. Just the simple fact that you have to wait proves to everyone else that the prize is absolutely worth the patience. Now for Ferrari's super coveted special editions, they completely flip the traditional buyer-seller power dynamic. In almost any other transaction on the planet, cash is king. You have the money, you get the product. But Ferrari boldly says no. When it comes to their absolute rarest models, having a massive bank account is just the bare minimum requirement to even get your foot in the door. They enforce these incredibly strict loyalty rules that create this sort of psychological gauntlet. You don't just decide you want a special edition Ferrari. The brand has to choose you. So yes, step one, you need the capital. But then you actually have to build a verifiable history of owning multiple standard Ferraris just to prove your loyalty over time. And then you wait. You don't call them, they invite you. It's the ultimate status symbol simply because it cannot be bought on day one, no matter who you are. But it's not just about capping production. Ferrari ruthlessly protects this untouchable aura. They are like relentless guardians of their brand. They publicly challenge unauthorized commercial uses of their trademarks, and they tightly police their image. They absolutely refuse to compromise, making sure the luxury cachet they've spent decades building is never diluted by cheap associations or unauthorized commercialization. And this untouchable aura is totally supercharged by what we can call the Formula One effect. Because, Ferrari isn't just a car company that occasionally races on the weekends. Their decades of battling it out on the F1 grid give them this massive halo effect. That relentless pursuit of speed on the track translates directly into the prestige of their road cars. It creates this authentic heritage that money just can't buy, and frankly, very few other brands could even dream of matching. So here is the ultimate triumph of this whole strategy. Despite producing just a tiny fraction of the volume of mainstream automakers, Ferrari pulls in billions in annual revenue. They are not sacrificing financial success by making fewer cars. They are actually maximizing it. The astronomical margins they command are proof that you really don't need massive physical scale to achieve massive financial dominance. The big takeaway here completely flips standard business logic on its head. Intentionally capping your growth and limiting your supply can actually drive up your brand's overall value exponentially. In the upper echelons of the luxury market, exclusivity is always going to beat volume. The less available a product is, the more people are willing to pay for it. It's just a brilliant, highly disciplined rejection of the modern corporate obsession with endless, rapid expansion. I want to leave you with this final thought regarding the psychology of business. If you want your product, your service, or even your brand to be truly desirable, are you making yourself a little too easy to get? In a world that is completely obsessed with scale, Ferrari proves that sometimes the absolute most profitable thing you can do is simply say no. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.